Anti-D Law welcomes you to the 7-day course for the LSAT India. In this course, you will receive 7 lessons each for logical reasoning, analytical reasoning, and reading comprehension. So let's begin with today's lecture. This session is AR5, our 5th session on analytical reasoning. So this set of questions that we'll be solving here today has been taken from the official LSAT India Prep Test 5. This Prep Test 5 was made available to the students on the official Telegram group of the LSAT India. So in case you want to have a look at the original questions, you can go and have a look at them by using this reference. So what you see on your screen is the entire set of questions from 14 to 18. You have the common directions and then the questions, the 5 questions from question number 14 to 18. If you want, you can pause the video and attempt solving this question by your own self first. Otherwise, we can go ahead and I will make you pause the video in stages, question by question. So you may choose as to what you'd like to do. Let us go ahead. So let us first begin with the common directions that apply to all the questions from question number 14 to 18. As you know, these are the ones that are common, that apply commonly to all of the questions. So you can pause the video at this point and try making some sense of these. It's good for you to be able to in some way tabulate the data that you get from here, or in some way condense it so that you have an understanding of what is given to you in these directions. So just pause the video and try it by your own self, and then we'll go ahead and do this together. Okay, so I hope you'd given it an attempt. As you could see, there are 6 people, right? These are 6 people. Their names again fortunately start with different first alphabets. So I can call them Hari, H, Jasbir, Kapil, Lata, Madhu and Oma. Alright. And then they order 3 kinds of desserts. You have pedas, rasmalai and sandesh, which again I can refer to by their first alphabets because they are again distinct. So I can refer to them as peda, rasmalai and sandesh. Okay. Now what you can see is that when you have to draw a mapping, right, you know that there's going to be some sort of relation between these. So you know that there are fewer sweets, there are fewer desserts, the number of desserts is lesser and the number of people is more, right? Which means that for peda there could be 2 or 3 people, for rasmalai there could be 2 or 3 people. You get the point? So essentially what I'm trying to say is that when you do a mapping, you realize that this one is more and this one is less. Okay, so once you have this mapping in your head, you know what your diagram or what your map is going to look like, right? Because what we do initially when we see the common directions is that we make a kind of map of it. Okay, so now that you've seen the difference in the numbers, that the number of people is more and the choices of desserts is less, you kind of know how you'd be mapping it. So perhaps we'll be mapping it kind of like this, that we have peda and we have rasmalai and we have sandesh, and now we'll perhaps see as to who the people are for each, you know, like who is here, who is here, who is not here, and so on. Okay, so this is our scheme, this is the kind of map that we'll be making, this is the diagram that we'll be making, and we take this diagram with us to the questions later on. Okay, so what it says is that everyone orders at least one dessert, right? And no one orders more than one of each type, which means that, let us take for example, say let's take Lata. Okay, so Lata surely orders at least one thing. So let's say she orders peda. Okay, and she might also want to order rasmalai perhaps, but she will not order 2 pedas, right? Because nobody orders more than one of the same thing. Okay, so if somebody orders 2, it means he or she has ordered 2 different kinds of desserts, right? All right, now there are some conditions. Let's see what the conditions are. It says exactly 2 people order pedas. So let's write that down here. We know that 2 people order pedas. It means not more than 2 and not less than 2. That's what exactly means. That means it's neither less nor more than 2. It's exactly equal to 2. Okay, just remember this. Then we look at the next direction it says that if Kapil orders pedas, so if Kapil orders pedas, then he also orders sandesh. Remember that if Kapil orders pedas, then he orders sandesh as well. But that does not mean that if Kapil orders sandesh, he also orders pedas. Remember that this is a directional arrow, okay? It is not a case of complete mutual, it's not a mutual relationship, in the sense that you should understand this is a directional arrow. If you were to think of it like this, then you've got it wrong, okay? So let's just keep this relationship with us at the top, okay? Since tabulating it doesn't make a lot of sense. So what we know is that if Kapil orders pedas, then Kapil also orders sandesh, okay? Let's look at our third point. So you know that Jasbir, Lata and Madhu and nobody else order rasmalai. That means only 3 people exactly, because nobody else. So these 3 and nobody else orders rasmalai, and these 3 are Jasbir, Lata and Madhu. Okay. Then we look at the next piece of data, which is that neither Hari nor Oma orders pedas, which means that here you do not have, there is no Hari and there is no Oma for pedas, okay? And you know that Lata does not order sandesh, so Lata does not order sandesh. All right, now let's look at a couple of things, and a couple of more things we can infer from here. If Hari and Uma have not ordered pedas, you can see that Hari and Uma have not ordered rasmalai also. That obviously means that since everybody orders at least one kind of dessert, as you can see here, each one orders at least one dessert, which means that Hari and Uma are not peda, Hari and Uma are not rasmalai. That means they will have to have ordered sandesh. So let me put Hari and Uma here, which means that we have a minimum of 2 even for sandesh, because we know that at least these 2 people have ordered sandesh, right? So now that we have this data with us, let us go ahead and look at the questions, okay, one by one. What is the maximum total number of desserts that 6 people could have ordered? Okay, so as you know, there were pedas, there are rasmalai and there are sandesh. There are 6 people. Suppose each one of them had ordered one each. That would have made it a total of 18. But this is not the kind of answer you're looking at. If you might have been expecting 18 here. That is the numerical possibility, of course. But what you're trying to say here is, what is the maximum given the conditions, right? So once you apply the conditions that were given, the common ones that apply from 14 to 18, in such a case, what is the maximum? So let's find that out. So as you know, there were some things that were fixed, okay? Like for example, it was fixed that rasmalai is ordered only by 3 people, right? You know that peda is ordered only by 2 people. This makes it a total of 5. You also know that Lata does not order sandesh. That means out of the 6 people, if Lata does not order, that leaves only 5 possibilities. So the total maximum, so this is the maximum that is possible for sandesh, and the maximum and the minimum for peda and rasmalai is fixed at 2 and 3, which means here this is 5, this is fixed for these 2, this is 5, and for sandesh, if I remove Lata, then the maximum that is possible is 5. So the total maximum is 5 plus 5, and therefore the answer to this is the option C, that is 10. Okay, I hope this made sense to you. Let's move on to the next question. Now take a moment and try to solve this question by your own self before you listen to my explanation. Okay, now let's go ahead and solve this together. So what you see is that if exactly 2 people each order both pedas and rasmalai. So you have again 3 sweets. We have peda, rasmalai and sandesh. Okay. If exactly 2 people order both pedas and rasmalai and nothing else. Okay. That means there are 2 people who order peda and rasmalai and nothing else. Then which of the following must be false? Now when you're seeing peda and what can happen when peda is ordered, at that point you can kind of understand that perhaps looking at this rule of Kapil makes sense. Okay, when you see here that if Kapil were to order pedas, Kapil would have also ordered sandesh. We'd seen this rule that whenever Kapil orders peda, if 1 second, let me just get the pen. So when Kapil orders peda, then Kapil also orders sandesh. But in this case, sandesh has not been ordered. It means Kapil has not ordered pedas, right? So this is an inference that we can draw from these very facts. And in this question, like I said, there is always a mixture of anticipation that you take. So now that you've found this thing out, you're looking for an option which talks about Kapil, right? Now you anticipate that you will find an option relating to Kapil. Maybe you might not. If that happens, then you go for elimination, right? So you always keep elimination and anticipation as your 2 choices when you go and solve these questions. Now, when I think of the fact and I anticipate that the fact that Kapil orders both, that Kapil orders, so when Kapil basically orders peda, then he should have ordered sandesh. So if sandesh has not been ordered by these people, then I'm sure Kapil has not ordered. So let me look for which one must be false. Here you can see option D says that Kapil orders both pedas and sandesh. So this has to be false, because we know that since sandesh has not been ordered, it means Kapil has not ordered pedas. Alright, let's go to the next question. So pause the video and try solving this by your own self. It's very simple. I'll show you the method of solving this once you're done, but give it a shot yourself first. I want you to know that there is always a short method, and in case you find yourself taking a long method, it will give you an idea of why you took a more circuitous route than perhaps what I'll be telling you. Okay, and also if you have a shorter method, then do let me know in the comment section. I'd be really happy to learn, because there are multiple ways of solving these questions, and so it's very much possible that you might figure out a shorter way. So just pause the video and try it by your own self. This should take you not more than 2 minutes or even 1 minute to solve by your own self. Okay, so we have peda and we have rasgulla and we have sandesh. So I'm saying the names of these sweets every single time. Anyway, okay, so some things are fixed. Okay, we know that rasmalai is ordered by 3 people. Pedas are ordered by 2 people. That's a total of 5. It says exactly 8 are ordered, which means this has to be 3 because the total has to be 8. So this will have to be 3. And as soon as you do this, take your anticipation. So you've got a certain kind of inference. We've got this here. Now take your anticipation to the options and you look at option D. This is a question that you can solve in 30 seconds. Okay, let's proceed. Go to the next question. Once again, pause the video, try solving the question by your own self. When you see this thing about at least, right, this is a question dealing with at least. It means that you have to look for a case where the least number of sweets are ordered. Like we saw, the maximum number of sweets that can be ordered is 10. We saw that in the first question, right? But when you're looking at a question that deals with at least, just see if you can minimize the total number of sweets to the total number of sweets purchased. I mean the number of desserts purchased. It will help you get to the right answer. So give it a moment, try it by yourself, and then we will solve this question also together. Just pause the video and try it by yourself. All right, like I said here, when we are solving this question, we are dealing with the least case scenario. Okay, we are looking at something like the least. Of course, it also says at the most here. So let's see what can happen. Let's perhaps take our three sweets, peda, rasmalai and sandesh. Okay, and what we do is we fix what we know as the, so some things are variables. So when you say, like we saw, that when I wanted to say maximum number of sweets, we look at what is the maximum possible sandesh, because you know that peda and rasmalai, these are fixed, right? So this is the one that can change, right? So when you're looking for a minimum or maximum, you're basically looking for the minimum of this or the maximum of this. So the maximum of sandesh will determine the maximum of the total. You understand? Because when two things are fixed, this is the only thing that can change. A change in this will determine the change in the total. Okay, so let's see as to how we can calculate around a minimum number of sandesh. Okay, so let's fix what we know. Let's write what we know. We know that we have a total of 3 rasmalai and we have a total of 2 peda, and we know that there has to be a minimum of 2 sandesh, because we know that you don't have Hari and Oma here, and here you have Jabir, Jasbir, Lata and Madhu, which means at the very minimum you should have Hari and Hari and Oma here, right? Now you have to see as to who is common in here. Now you see, as you can see here, add these up. When you add these up, this is a total of 7. Okay, and there are 6 people. So when there are 6 people and a total of 7 things have been ordered, it means surely at least one person has ordered an extra thing, right? If everyone had ordered 1 each, the total would have been 6. Surely somebody has ordered more than 1. So this is the least case scenario where only one person has ordered 1. So we have got our case of the least. Now let us see as to where the overlap can be. Who is the person, like what are the 2 sweets that he would have bought? Okay, as you can see, between peda and sandesh, there can be no overlap. Why? Because you see, the people who cannot have peda, because Hari and Oma cannot have peda, these are the ones who have had sandesh, which means there can be no overlap between these 2 people, right? Okay, next when you look at an overlap between, now you can think of an overlap between, say, these 2, okay, and then you can think of an overlap between these 2. At this point you can see that when we are taking the least case scenario, at this point these are 3 different people and these are 2 different people. There is no overlap here in this least case scenario. Okay, although this is not practically the least case scenario, I am taking a theoretical least case scenario. We'll see in the next question as to what the practical least case scenario is. Okay, but as you can see, these are Jasbir, Lata and Madhu, and here you have Hari and Oma. So there's obviously no one common here as well, which means the only place where 2 people can be common is here. So it's possible that either Jasbir or Lata or Madhu were in here, right? So when you're thinking of something being common, we just saw that there is nothing common, or that there can be nothing common between between these 2, because these people are absolutely distinct. As you can see from the names, there is nothing common between these 2 either. That means the commonality lies between peda and rasmalai. So when you see the options, there has to be at least one person who orders rasmalai and also orders pedas, and therefore I go with option B. As you can see, in all of these questions I am not having to eliminate, right? This is not an elimination based question. This is a question where you calculate, you anticipate the answer, and then you look to the options for a confirmation, right? In case you find that you do not get a confirmation, then perhaps you can go for elimination. Alright, so let's move to our last question for this set, question number 18. Alright, so pause the video and try solving this question by your own self before you listen to my solution. This again is a question that deals with your understanding of what is the maximum and what is the minimum. I will discuss this with you, but I just want you to take note of something, okay, before you pause the video. Let us say that you know that the maximum number of desserts that could be bought in total is 10. We saw this in the first question, right? Now let us say I'll give you a hypothetical option. Let's say instead of option D, it says 3 people order exactly 2 desserts. Let me say 3 people order exactly 3 desserts. Let's just take for example. So which means that you have peda, you have rasmalai, and you have sandesh. Okay. So if 3 people order exactly 3, what that means is that, let us take our 6 people here. We know that we have 6 people. Let's just call them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We have 6 people, right? So let us say these 3 people, okay, order 3 desserts each. That means between them they've ordered a total of 9. And you know that these people will have to order at least 1 each, right? Because every person orders at least 1. That makes it a total of 3. This makes it a total of 12, okay? And we just saw that in our question we had a maximum of 10, right? Which means that if we had any such option, the total maximum allows us to eliminate an option like that, okay? I'm just giving you an idea of how maximum works and how the total maximum number can help you solve such questions. Likewise, in this question, it would be helpful for you to know as to what the minimum number is, right? So focus on minimizing the number and see how this helps you. Just pause the video and try solving it by your own self, and then of course we'll solve this together. Alright, so I hope you gave it an attempt. Now let's try to fill in some data into this. As you can see here, it talks about persons, like the focus is on the people, right? So perhaps now using the names would be more helpful for us, right? Because we're talking about people, okay? If you look at the other options, the focus was not so much on the person who is ordering, it's more on the number of things ordered, right? So we could get away without really thinking too much or focusing too much on the names of the people, but now the names become important. Also, what you can see is that we should try to go for the case of the minimum, right? Because when you know the minimum, then you know exactly how many people have ordered. For example, let us say, for example, when we know that if the total, let us say, if the total, like we saw in the previous thing, was that if the total was 7, okay, the total number of desserts ordered is 7, then we know that surely exactly one person has ordered more than 1 dessert, right? He's ordered 2 desserts. We know that. Likewise, the total number also gives us some idea. So let's try to feed in some data into this. We know that for rasmalai we have 3 names. We have Jasbir, we have Lata, and we have Madhu. For sandesh we have Hari and Oma. We know that. What we do not have surely for sandesh is that we do not have Lata, and for peda we surely do not have Hari and Oma, right? Now we know that peda should have 2 people, right? Because now we need to see who they are. We know who they are not, but we sure need to place them somewhere, and every person needs to get something. So here you can find all the people, Jasbir, Lata, Madhu, you can find Hari and Oma, but you cannot see Kapil, right? So now we have to put Kapil somewhere. Can I put Kapil here? No, I cannot put Kapil here because rasmalai is ordered only by these 3 people and nobody else, which means Kapil will have to be taken out of this, which means Kapil will either go here or Kapil will go here. When Kapil goes here, then Kapil also appears here, right? You know that when Kapil goes here, then Kapil also appears here. Okay, and if couple were not to appear here, like if couple were not to appear here, it is possible that couple can be only here. If you remember in the beginning, I told you he can order sandesh without ordering a peda, but if he orders a peda, he must order a sandesh. So the causal connection is peda to sandesh, not sandesh to peda. So let's take both cases. These are the only two cases. Now, in both of these cases, as you can see, let's take the first case where couple is at two places. So let's take the first case where couple has ordered a peda as well as a sandesh, right? Now you can see that we found our first candidate for peda and we have to put one more person here. Okay. Now who can the one more person be? It cannot be Hari and Uma. It has to be one of these persons. So let me put them in here. Perhaps it could be any one of these. Let's just think of any one of these people as being here. Now, when you look at this option, the first option, exactly one person orders more than one dessert. Okay. This looks like a case where this is the minimum case, right? This is giving you the bare minimum. Okay. Because you know that when only one person orders more than one dessert, you are looking at a case of only a total of 7, which means if I want to negate this option, and this is the most attractive option to negate, because in that case you have been able to discard what looks like the most extreme option, right? So now what I can see here is that couple is a person who has ordered both peda as well as sandesh. So that's the first person who has ordered two things, more than one dessert. Then let us say I put either J or L or M here. Whoever I put, you would find that whatever person I put here has also ordered more than one dessert. That means we've got our second candidate also, which means that this option has been negated. But remember, this was the first case. This was the first case when couple buys peda. Let's take the second case, because we must not forget the second case where couple does not buy peda. All right. So couple buys only sandesh. Let's take the second case where couple is buying only sandesh. Okay. So couple is only here. At this point, peda does not have couple. But still, peda should have two people. Surely. Now, who will those two people be? We know it's not Hari. It's not Oma. We just decided that it is not couple. Okay. Which means it will have to be again two of these three people. So let us say if we had two of these three people here, it again means that these two people who are here have ordered more than one dessert. That means the second case also we get J and L, or we get L and M, or we get J and M. But whatever, what I mean to say is that in both cases, you have more than one person who has ordered either one dessert, more than one dessert, or one person has ordered, say, 2 or 3 desserts, right? So we are sure that in this case, by seeing the minimum, that in both cases, whether couple orders peda and this or only this, in either case, this one is negated, because in both cases we have found more than one person. So exactly one person has been disputed, and therefore we can say for sure that option A is false, and therefore option A is our answer. So I hope this video made some sense to you. In case you have any questions, you can put them to me in the comment section. Also, if you have a shorter method to solve this, I'd be really happy if you can write that down in the comment section, or you can interact with me on the Facebook group that I have provided the link for in the description. I'd really appreciate if you can find a shorter method as well. Like I said, there are many methods. I try to give you the shortest method, but a shorter method could always exist. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much.